Yo, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Unfucking Your CX. I'm your host, Zach Hamilton. And let me tell you, we are in an absolute treat today. So I love asking, other folks who've been in the hot seat, who should I have on? And this person today has come recommended by four other previous guests that have been in the hot seat. So, Bianca, welcome to the hot seat of the show. I feel like I'm meeting a superstar.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Zach. Oh my gosh. I wouldn't say I'm a superstar, but it is such a pleasure to meet you. I follow your podcast. I follow you on social media, on your LinkedIn. And so thank you so much for having me. And shout out to all those CX leaders who recommended me because I am excited to be here and talk about CX and
Yeah,
what grinds my gears.
I love that. I love it. We're going to get into that in just a minute. But by the way, congratulations. You just hit the top 25 ICMI thought leaders.
Thank
So,
you. Thank you. Shout out to ICMI. I am so excited to have the honor to be a thought leader. It is such, and congratulations to you as well. You
thank
are on
you.
that
Thank
list.
you.
I think it is a wonderful curated list to help move CX forward into the next stratosphere. And that's what this podcast is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I love too about it is it brings together folks from just different backgrounds, right? Like
Hmm.
you're coming from almost like an HR background
Yeah. Yeah.
by trade. I should say by trade.
Yeah, Bertrand.
And some other folks that we've had on are, have been in leading CS teams and CX teams for years. And, Dan was just on and he was workforce management. So what I love is just the dynamic, just like the thought leaders that ICMI has. So
Absolutely.
Bianca, we're going to get into it before, just set the stage. These types of conversations, right? We need a safe space to have them.
Hmm.
Where does that typically get created for you?
So I would definitely say that safe space for me. We are in the corner of my favorite restaurant. We have had a couple of drinks. We have had a few appetizers, maybe a little fried calamari, a little bit. We are chopping it up and we are getting comfortable and getting to know each other and to talk about CX from the bottom up.
That's amazing. I mean, fried calamari, I love it. What's
Yeah,
what's the restaurant?
my favorite, my favorite, my favorite.
It's called My Favorite.
No, so my favorite, I would say my favorite restaurant here, that would be Meat Barbecue. So
Oh yeah.
I'm here in East Lansing, Michigan. We have a place called Meat Barbecue. It's actually been on diners, drive-ins, and dives two or three times.
Yep, I've
And if
seen
you're
it.
yeah, if you're ever here, please, you have to go. I'm talking about ribs that don't even need barbecue sauce.
Mm, now you got me hungry. I mean, I've already had lunch, but now I'm hungry.
And I'm also a foodie, so I love to eat. I love to find those very niche restaurants, and that is one of them. Oh, it's my
Oh,
favorite.
that's
They have
awesome.
actually my favorite appetizers there is gonna be called Eddie's Egg Rolls. The
Mm,
best egg rolls you've ever had with Southwest ranch sauce made from scratch. So Meat Barbecue makes everything from scratch.
wow. That
And
sounds so
sometimes they run out of food.
really.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
because they make food just enough for that day.
oh, okay, that day. And I almost bet like game days are even I bet it's just slammed. You can't get a table, huh?
Oh, it's not. So actually, they used to be have a smaller space. They bought this place next door to expand, and it is still packed. So it is what it's. They're closed on Mondays, but if you go any other week, no matter what time you go, it is. I've never been there, and it's not been.
Oh, well, we got to go. We got to go. Well,
Got it.
Bianca, you have seen it all, right? You
Yeah.
are engaged with so many folks. What is that one topic right now in CX or CS that is just you said grinding your gears?
So for me, Zach, honestly, it is that CX theater versus CX design, as I'll call it. So by CX theater, what do I mean by that? Process improvements that are only for theater, not for design. Looks good
It's
on paper, improving. We're going to improve this, we're going to improve it. Whole process is carried out. It helps no one. it only adds to frustration for your customers and for your employees.
Spot on. I was going to say it's the shit that lives inside of PowerPoint decks that just
Mhm.
never get prioritized. It sounds so good.
Sounds great.
And I actually saw this on a post the other day. I didn't comment on it. I just messaged this practitioner
Hmm.
direct. And to your point, it's like the difference between outputs and outcomes. So like
Yes.
she listed this like my team was amazing. We delivered so much in 2025 and it was all outputs. To your
Yep.
point, it was all theater.
Volume, numbers. What does that mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
Why but
What?
I guess my question for you is like why do you think we're so like I'm not going to call us a discipline or a
Yeah.
program or really a system, but why do you think the CX system is just stuck in theater?
Well, I think it's stuck in theater because as a profession, we're addicted to optimizing activities instead of designing the system. And to your point about that post was all about activity, not designing the system, not solving the problem. So without all intents and purposes, a systems thinker. I am a systems person. So like actually all my articles as a ICMI feature contributor is about process improvement. Because without process improvement, without that system thinking, even your best well intentions don't hold. They
Yeah,
don't hold.
you're so spot on there. And I think so many folks, I think part of it is we overlook the system thinking piece of this, right? Like we go into like design where we want to design a new experience or a new policy, which is great. That's part of it. But system thinking is so much broader than just the
Mhm.
design piece. And so I'm curious when you think about systems thinking, how do you think about it in principle?
So when I think of system thinking, I think of moving from metrics to targets. I think about moving from coaching to development. I look at it moving from change as design, like you said, and metrics as signals, and coaching as sense making. So to your point, we earlier were talking about development. To talk to your staff about the day to day, the real nitty gritty, what's going on, and actually focus your change on that, not just outputs that look shiny and pretty in the PowerPoint.
It's so interesting you brought this up. So I have a retailer that I work with as a client, and I'll give you this example that describes this like perfectly. And I'd love your thoughts on it. So they, of course, do like post-purchase surveys.
Mm-hmm.
And they have one gal who you go back and look at the last 12 months and customers just rave about her. She's always
Mm-hmm.
being called out positively in feedback. She always has like, of course, the best scores, but it's not just the scores. So where, people don't like you would originally think, oh, she's gamifying it. But like the comments, you could tell are
Mm-hmm.
just very genuine. And there was basically 2 weeks in a row, right before the holidays, where her scores were off
Mm-hmm.
and she didn't get as much positive feedback like she normally gets in the comments. And so I was talking to the retail leadership team, and they said, well, she didn't meet the standard, so we're actually going to write her up. Right. And so I said, look, I've been in retail operations. Here's how I would probably handle this conversation, which is, hey, Bianca, you typically get glowing feedback. We've actually seen the last couple weeks, it's not. I just want to like, are you okay?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
you as a person, like, are you
Yes.
okay? Because I know that this is not like your typical level of performance. I'm so glad that I was able to get to them beforehand, Bianca, because they had that conversation. Ended up her grandmother had passed away, so she had been carrying on like this grief and whatnot.
Yes.
But like, could you imagine, to your point, the output of it was she didn't hit standards, so we have to write her up. Versus to your point, thinking about it as a system.
Yes.
And okay, the system with her is not working. I've got to figure out why.
Yes. 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 And what's interesting, Zach, is that happens more often than not. Because again, leaders are have tunnel vision on the metrics. So let's go back to that system thinking, using metrics as learning tools, right? So the first thing, if I was that leader, I'm looking at what is the system, her, telling
Yeah.
us something's wrong. Where is the friction coming from? What in the system, her, constraints or issues that she's having that are invisible? Again, that goes to the systems thinking. You're just looking at what you can see. What about what you can't see? So they almost damaged a high performer because they were not willing to look past output.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate that this is the world that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
As a call to discipline, as a profession, right?
Yes.
Because we are so metric focused.
Mm-hmm.
We got to
Overly.
do everything we can to hit the metric. And so we're going to put
Overly.
standards in place where we're going to document people if they don't achieve a specific standard. And the whole human that's part of the system experienced something so traumatic, right?
Just wild. That it is wild. And I think it goes back to viewing the humanity in your employees. You go back to a system, well, your employee is a human, that is a system.
Yeah.
And when something isn't working in the system, you have to get down to the root cause, not just fixing surface level problems. If you do that, the problem pops back up. So let's just say they did have that conversation. She gets upset. She gets another job where she can because she's a high performer. She leaves. They get another high performer. It's going to happen again. So thank God you were there to save the day, because they would have kept repeating that cycle, which they probably have before.
Yeah.
You start helping them. Repeating that cycle. And again, humans are a system, systems thinking. You're ignoring the invisible. You're ignoring the root cause. And yes, it takes longer to get down to root causes. But you know what? When you get down to the root cause, you actually solve the problem.
Well, that's the issue with our profession, right? There's very few practitioners that really, I don't know if I should question, do they understand how to do a root cause analysis? Because it's like ask the 5 whys, but actually practice it on a daily
basis. And to your point, integrate it into daily practice. And I will say, Zach, that's one thing when I see leadership training in CX that gets me frustrated. It's very theoretical and not practical. Whatever CX leadership training should be able to be implemented in the leader's daily practice. Otherwise, it's pointless. They're not going to be able to do it.
Well, it also reminds me, I got into this LinkedIn battle over the weekend because, to your point, it was all theoretical, right? And so I started challenging back, not the person who wrote it, but like the theory and practice, right? Like,
Yeah.
please explain to me how this works. How does this framework work? How does this calculation work? Like,
yes.
How is this going to stand up to a CFO? And what happened was the conversation now just started to get changed.
Yeah.
So instead of answering the question, and
Every
so
time.
that just tells me they don't know how because they've never had to stand one up.
Nope.
Right. And so
Never.
that's your point. Like, why do you think, and then we'll get into your player tips on this, but why do you think as a profession, we ride, I was going to say we ride or die with the thought leaders or the SaaS platform marketing?
You know, I really think because it's easier. It is easier than walking the walk and talking the talk. And you, as somebody who helps companies and has walked to walk and talked the talk, you know what that looks like, which is why you call it out, because you know what it looks like when it's theory and not practice. Theory is easy to do. It's so easy to say, theoretically, we should do this, we can do that, and anybody can put a PowerPoint together, some slides. It's much harder to walk the walk. But walking the walk and talking the talk, that's where change happens. That's where the systems thinking occurs. That's where the magic is. And that's where the thought leaders are.
Absolutely. So let's get to that system level thinking. So let's say the practitioners who are listening, they're like, okay, Bianca, I hear you. I really need to develop a systems thinking mindset this year. What's your first player tip for them?
Teach the system, not the task. Stop teaching tasks. People, leaders sometimes get in the habit of being so task oriented. Help people understand upstream inputs and downstream impact. Does your team know the why? If you just tell them just because and we need to do this and leadership said, you need to connect that why they're doing what they're doing to their job. They're not just doing a task. They are creating an experience through a system.
Yeah, spot on. I think so too often we're so disconnected from like the heart of the operations of the system
Hmm.
to where if we have them do this task or we ask them to do it and they don't do it, they don't understand the downstream impact that could happen. And so that like I think that's just so paramount. I love how you're saying that. It's both the downstream and the upstream.
Yeah, it's
So
both.
if you do this, what's in it? It's the WIFM, right? What's in it
Yeah,
for me?
always. Always. And that's across the board, no matter who you're talking to and what profession. What's in it for me? When you break that down in a way that people can understand, and I know you've seen this. I've seen this so many times where you're explaining this to employees and you just see the light bulb. They got it.
Yeah.
They got
Yeah.
it.
It's part of that change management piece, right? As humans, we don't like change. Even someone like myself, who I think I've lived this life of just constant change. Even at
Hmm.
the forefront of it, I don't like to change, right? Because sometimes I get set in my ways. And now we're asking them to do something different. And so, to your point, what I loved is like, one, you just got to explain it. Like, why are we doing something different? What's in it for me? And you have to go to each level of your organization. Doesn't
And
matter if you're B2B or B2C, you've got to do it at each level.
each level. And to your point, taking that ego out. Let them challenge you with questions. Why are we doing this? How does this work? Can we do this differently? Again, that's how you manifest an amazing system. So I built system thinking into my staff. So onboarding first day, Zach, first day, I tell any new employee, if you see a problem, you tell me and we're going to fix it. Day one. And you know what happens? They start looking. And when they pick up on something, they bring it to me and I go fix it. How do you think we should fix it? And they look and I go, no, you tell me how to fix it. You do the work. You tell me how to fix it and I'll help you fix it. And it kind of sets the stage for them for problems looking like opportunities
Yeah.
versus just another task they have to do.
Yeah. Well, and what I hear in there too is like empowerment and trust.
Yes, you have to.
Oof,
You
I love
you
that.
you have to. You cannot build a great system without empowering your team. It's impossible.
Absolutely. What's player tip number two?
Design the feedback loops, not heroics, what I just was saying. Make
Mm,
it easy to surface friction early before it becomes a failure. If your team comes to you and say, this is a problem, try to fix it as soon as possible. Don't wait until it becomes a monumental issue that now you've had a customer escalate all the way up to leadership. Now they're leaving bad reviews online when you could have just fixed it the first time. Again, this goes back to walking the walk and talking the talk. It is easy to be like, oh, well, no, that's not a real issue. And I think too many times we're guilty as leaders of saying that, oh, well, no, that's not. I don't really think that's a big deal. And then 9 times out of 10, I've seen it. I know you have. Every single time it turns out to be the bigger deal than you thought it was.
yeah. I'll never forget at Aaron's, we had our national support center that wanted it serviced our internal teams, right? Like our stores.
Mm-hmm.
And they would be getting calls all day long from, maybe the point of sale system went down or their inventory system went down or whatever, or they're doing workarounds and all these different things. And I'll never forget, we were doing this town hall, and our CIO was just like, hey, what are some of those top frictions? And, the district managers and everyone's like chiming in on, oh my gosh, you would make my day easier if you just fixed X, Y, and Z. And I thought to myself, Bianca, like, why are we waiting for quarterly town halls when we have employees calling in every single day talking about frictions and just serving our customers? Like, why don't we
Every
just
day,
we use ServiceNow. So why don't we just pull that out of ServiceNow to
weekly,
serve
quarterly,
daily
monthly, something,
something? And why are we
something.
not putting it into prioritization sessions that makes it easier for our frontline teams to serve our customers?
And makes it comfortable, psychologically safe for them to bring those issues forward. Because when your employees bring those issues to you, that's also a prime example and the best way to develop them.
Yeah.
It's built in. You could say, okay, wow, this sounds great. All right, well, let's look at this. Tell me your ideas. What do you think? Because they're
Yeah.
on the phone with the customers, to your point. They know all the issues. They know, it's an IT issue here and it's a system issue there. We need 5 templates here and it's hard to get a hold of this manager over there. to your point, they already know, but
Yeah.
make it psychologically safe and develop them through that.
Yeah.
And you will see them blossom and see so much growth, which goes into the third point. Build systems that don't depend on you as a leader.
Mm,
High
mm.
performance should be default, not leader dependent, right? So I'll give you a good example. When I went away to the ICMI conference in October, everything ran smooth as if I was here. No issues, no complaints, no nothing. I actually got extremely positive feedback about my team. Why? Because they feel empowered, right?
I love
They
that.
feel empowered even when I'm not here. So even if I leave this job, the systems should run smoothly. It should not be dependent on me. And all of that information should not live in my head.
Well, that's the quality of leader that you are, Bianca, right? Because I've seen too many times where organizations, the CX leader, whatever their title is, they leave. And because they were the hero, all of the progress that they made over the previous 3 years just died.
Gone.
Like it left with them.
Resets back to zero. It
And it
literally just
resets back
reset.
to zero. Yeah. And it fades away. And it's, some folks think it fades away slowly. It fades away so quick
It's like
because
this.
they're
It
not
is
there to
immediate.
answer their questions. Everything lives in their head or by memory. And to your point, they don't scale their teams. And so their teams are just like, I don't know, the leader's not here. They just used to tell us what to do.
Yeah, but you have to empower them and then empower them with each other. A lot of times my team come to me and go, well, I saw team member go this and that. I go, well, that's your team member. Go talk to them. Hash it out, figure it out. Because that's how you build true teams that can again function without you and also problem solve without you. You should not have to be present as a leader for your team to problem solve.
Well said. This has been such a great conversation, Bianca. If anyone wants to go deeper, any of our listeners want to pick your brain about systems thinking, where can they find you?
You guys can find me on LinkedIn. I'm definitely on LinkedIn, Bianca Price. Actually, watch out for my next article for ICIM as a featured contributor about why systems thinking is the future of CX leadership. And
Mm,
it's going to get very deeper, much deeper into the subject because this is a passion of mine because I've seen how it works. Yes, it's a lot of work up front, but the end result is priceless.
absolutely. And for all of our listeners, we'll link Bianca into the newsletter, and then we'll be on the watch out and we will link in the link to your next article as well. So, Bianca, thank you so much for coming into the hot seat. Come back soon.
All right, thanks, Zach. I'm willing to come back anytime. Thank you so much for having me on. This has
Yeah,
been a blast.
amazing. Cheers.
Cheers.